Hello, I'm intuitive healer and Ascension guide Matthew John, and this video is in response to another question from a follower on Facebook. This question comes from Kathleen. Kathleen asks, how about ego? When is ego talking, and how to tame it so truth arises? Great question. When is ego talking, and when is truth talking, basically, is the question. Great topic. So, first of all, let's think of a couple synonyms for truth. What is truth? Well, truth is, the way I would define it, truth is love. Truth is presence. Truth is God. Truth is source. Truth is the all that is. Truth is isness. Truth is what is below and above at the same time. Truth is the everything and the nothing. Truth is, truth is, truth is, truth is. Okay? And what is ego? Well, ego is everything that's not truth, basically. Ego is a false construct. Ego is a false construct, an illusion of our own creation. And before we examine the difference and how to tell if it's ego or if it's truth, presence, God, source, doing the speaking or the thinking, which is so often the case, let's try to break down what is ego and why is ego here? Why do we have egos, right? Well, ego is a false construct created by us for our own protection and for our own higher learning. And that's the highest value of ego, is that we incarnate into these bodies from source, and with it we take certain aspects of the personality of our soul into this lifetime, and out of that we construct an ego. We construct a false identity, this identity that when I look in the mirror I think this is me, this is who I am. Not the I am who I truly am, which is the source, the truth within, that is everything and everyone, but who I think I am. And that's a key word too, who I think I am. Okay? That'll give you a clue to the answer to this question pretty simply. Who do I think I am? So in general, think, the word think tells you that if you think it to be true, it might not be truth, right? So ego is a false construct created for our own higher learning. Now, how do we learn through having an ego? Well, we learn through having an ego to navigate a world of egos, okay? So it's not like one of us came down and decided to just construct an ego in a world where all beings were living as spirit. No, every being, most beings on this planet, the vast majority are living in ego rather than spirit. Why? To play in the world of ego, because it's part of the soul's learning process. It's part of the learning curve. It's one of the most important parts from a soul's perspective, is to play in ego. And we've been playing in ego for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Thousands upon thousands of lifetimes, not only on this planet, but in other planets, in other realms, in other dimensions. Okay? Even right now, you might have other aspects of yourself that are playing an ego in other planes. That's how encompassing the soul is. The soul can be broken into different, never broken. Broken's not the right word. The soul can move parts of its consciousness in and out of different bodies of different egos, more or less, different incarnates in different worlds and different realms at the same time, in the same point where different timelines intersect, would be one way to put it into words in a linear perspective. Okay. So ego's necessary. Ego's very necessary for us until it's not. And that's kind of a funny thing to say, but it's really how everything kind of works in this game. Is everything is necessary for our highest good, always for our highest good, for our highest learning, until it's no longer necessary. And how do we know when it's no longer necessary? When it no longer arises, when it no longer shows up. So that's why we create certain problems or categories of problems that, a problem that might show up repeatedly with different characters, for example, or different details, but the similar themes, right? And then after a while, we kind of figure out what we need to figure out, and maybe we respond or act differently or come to peace, come to terms with something. And it's almost as if the universe, and in some way this is really what happens, is the universe says, great, you got it. Now on to the next category of existence, the next type of lessons, right? It's all perfect and it's all very complex, but the rules of existence are essentially simple. The rules of existence are that everything is happening for our own good, for our own learning, for our own development. Remember, this is a school. This planet is a school. This planet is the most advanced school in the universe. And we've all waited many, many lifetimes to enroll in this school. And once we get here, we tend to come back because one lifetime is generally not enough. So we come back and we come back and back and back again, and we work on different things. That's kind of how this Earth school works. So ego's a necessary part. Now, how do you know when someone's an ego? Well, someone who doesn't know they're an ego is probably an ego. Okay? Someone who isn't really aware of the that there is an ego, or of the difference, is probably an ego. Not necessarily, but as anyone watching this video is someone who is interested in the spiritual path, who's interested in the path of truth, right? So in general, when we as light workers look at the world, look at other characters in our play, most of them are consumed almost entirely in ego. And we might be as well, okay? We need to be careful here and not think that just because we're light workers, we're not stuck in ego as much as the rest of the world, because in a lot of cases we actually are. And it just becomes a different mask of ego, which I like to call the spiritual ego. Okay? This is something I can get into later or in another video. But the spiritual ego can be very tricky. Okay? The most recognizable way to tell a spiritual ego is usually someone who claims they don't have an ego. Because if someone needs to claim they don't have an ego, then they definitely have a huge ego going on, right? Someone who truly doesn't have an ego will tell you they don't have an ego, and you know that they don't have an ego because you can see and feel that presence coming through, okay? I like to look at great teachers of our current time, such as Matt Kahn, and Eckhart Tolle. These are two of my favorite teachers. And if you watch videos of them or listen to them speak, you can feel very clearly that what is coming through is something almost not human. It's something very holy. Okay, and this is the transcendence of ego that's now speaking. So that is truth. So if you look at the teachers, you can very easily get a sense of what that is like. Okay, but all of us, and especially us as light workers, are in certain moments expressing or speaking from truth. And the way to identify it is simply through a feeling. Okay, as light workers, as empaths and intuitives, we slowly learn to use our gifts and to use the gift of feeling. Feeling becomes more important than thinking. Okay, at a certain stage of the journey, actually at a stage that a lot of us are on right now in our development. So presence is something that you will feel, and I'm sure you have felt. When you felt a space, when you felt an opening, when you felt a relaxation, when you felt a sense of peace. These are all signs that presence is flowing through. And then what comes out of that, what comes out of here, might be the voice of presence, the voice of truth. How do we know if that voice in our head, which almost all of us, even as light workers, have insistently, pretty much all the time, right? How can we tell if this is the voice of truth or the voice of ego? And I'm guessing this is kind of what Kathleen was getting at in her original question. Well, if we have to ask ourselves, is this truth or is this ego? It's probably ego. Because who's asking if it's truth or if it's ego? Ego, right? Ego can very easily fool itself and very easily play games with itself. I'm sure most of us have had the experience, if not all the time, where we often feel like it's not just one voice in our head, it's multiple voices, or it's the same voice kind of split off into 4 different voices or different perspectives, and they start to almost argue with each other, clash with each other, right? Ego can be very, very clever. So if ego is asking whether what's coming through is truth or ego, it's probably ego, right? Presence wouldn't even ask the question, because presence would already know. And I'm sure we've all read about intuition or listened to the masters or the teachers speak about intuition, and they always say that intuition is a knowing, right? So it's a feeling and it's a knowing when truth is coming through. It's an internal feeling in the body, okay? It's a sense of relaxation. It's a sense of slowing down. And it's a sense of confidence, but not in a egoical way, okay? An egoic type of confidence actually comes out of fear, because the ego says, all right, you know what? I'm right, and I know, and I'm so confident that I know that this is true and this is going to work out. And that's a recipe for it not working out a lot of the time, right? When we're too sure, right? Whereas the type of confidence that comes out of presence is a different type of confidence. It's a peaceful confidence. Okay? Presence, truth never has anything to prove because it already is all that is and all that can ever be. It doesn't need anything. Ego always needs something. Ego always has an agenda. Ego is very conniving and very tricky and very tricky. There were no other words that were coming through, so I guess that's the only two words that needed to come out. So where do we go from here? How do we... Oh, the second part of the question was how to tame it. How to tame ego. How to tame ego so that truth arises more often, right? So let's think of ego like a rowdy child, or a dog, even a dog that's very, very excited to be in your presence and kind of won't leave you alone, right? He's just jumping up and down at your feet, right? Pawing at you, right? Because he wants to play or whatever. And it's well-intentioned, right? But you don't feel like giving the dog attention right now. You don't feel like playing with the dog, which is well in your right and a reasonable thing to do. So after a while, you start to ignore the dog. First, you might try to play fetch with the dog, and the dog keeps coming back. You might try to throw the dog food to appease it, and the dog just keeps coming back and bothering you, right? And by the way, I love dogs, but this was just the example that came through, okay? So eventually you come up with a different strategy and you say, all right, what if I just ignore the dog? Just turn my focus somewhere else. And you focus on maybe your book or whatever, and eventually the dog just maybe curls up beside you and takes a nap, right? So ego feeds off of attention. It was basically, I don't really think it was the best analogy, but the point is that ego feeds off of attention. Okay? And as creators, as co-creators, our most potent power is the power of our intention and attention. Okay? The two potent powers. Intention and attention. What is intention? Intention is what do we intend to, not what do we intend to do. What kind of, and this is a better definition of intention. What kind of energy do we desire to see here? Okay, that's our intention. Do we desire an energy of peace? Do we desire an energy of abundance, of love? Okay? Or from the egoic side, do we desire power, which comes from a lower energy place, a bit of a darker place, right? You can feel the difference. As opposed to peace, love, abundance, right? What is attention? Attention is whatever we attend to. What are we attending to in every moment? Okay? What are we bringing our focus and attention to as co-creators, as creators? So whatever it is that we attend to and what we intend to be the energy that manifests or surrounds us or is within us, the energy that we feel, these two factors, amongst karmic factors, that we have no control over, produce our experience. Okay? So ego feeds off of attention. So we can set our intention as creators to live more aligned with truth more often. Ask yourself this question: what if I could live more aligned with truth 5% more often than I have in the past year? So to put a time period in there, past week, whatever. What if I could live 5% more aligned with truth than in the past year? What if I could intend to manifest love, abundance, peace? What if I could intend to live more with gratitude and appreciation and forgiveness 5% more of the time than I have in the past 6 months? Okay? So the more we intend to align with truth, and the more we attend to truth, and the less we attend to the garbage that rolls around in the mind, the repetitive thoughts, the repetitive compulsions, the repetitive obsessions, the repetitive fears, right? Almost all of us have these. Okay? And the more we attend to truth through the breath, okay, through gratitude, through appreciation, things like these, the higher energies. The more we attend to those type of energies, and the less we attend with our intention. You see, it takes us as creators to intend to attend less to the lower callings of ego and more to the higher callings of truth. Okay? So what type of things, you might ask yourself, what type of activities, okay? What type of activities do I find myself attending more to truth, to peace, to love, to gratitude? What type of environments do I find myself attending more to peace, gratitude, love? What type of people, okay, this can be a tough one. Which people do I find myself, when I'm around them, naturally attending more to truth and less to the lower callings of ego? Okay. okay, and which people produce the opposite effect. Oftentimes we're put in situations where we don't have much of a choice of the people that we're interacting with on a daily basis, but we do have a choice as to how often we interact with these people, usually, how deeply we interact with these people, and whether we find ourselves diving into their vibration, or if we are able to hold our vibration. And actually what'll happen is, if you try this with intention, you'll see their vibration come up sometimes to match yours, but oftentimes they won't, okay? And that has nothing to do with you. That's all about their particular journey. But you, as a light worker, as an empath, are doing them a great service if you, with intention, attend to the higher truths of love, gratitude, peace. The breath. While you're around people that maybe used to or still kind of draw your energy to a lower place. Okay? And I'm going to make another video actually just on that topic. I think I'll probably record it tonight as well, because that's something that is very important to learn, is how to, especially as light workers and empaths, and so many of us live in cities, and we're surrounded by all kinds of people. How do we keep ourselves high, you know? Not high, but how do we maintain our truth around different types of people? So that'll be a different video. Anyways, I hope I gave you some insights. Thank you, Kathleen, for the question. I do intuitive healing and coaching sessions, and you can find information about that on my website or my Facebook page. Thank you for watching, and have a good day, night, wherever you are. Thank you.